Jefferson. Anyone could become a member who is a resident either of the Village of Port Jefferson, the Port Jefferson School District, or Port Jefferson Fire District. We do hold elections every so often. Next meeting I will be announcing that we are looking for candidates who wants to run for 5 board positions in April, and someone who will run our actual elections. This is just an announcement, a preview that this will be happening. Our board members, Anna, I'm the president of the association. We have Kathleen, our outreach and communication secretary. We have Janice, our recording secretary. We have Marilyn, who is our treasurer, and our vice president is presently not in attendance. We are grateful to the Port Jefferson Library for giving us home. It's a wonderful institution. Today we have the mayor of Port Jefferson talking about coastal resiliency issues in our village. But before we'll give her the floor, we'll have some reports from our committees. First, Quality of Life Committee. John.
Thank you. So I'll make this one quick, but the Quality of Life Committee continues to meet every month. Some issues, I'll try to work around this poll here. But some of the issues I've spoken about in the past, quick update. So we had an issue with the lights down at the country club that was shining in residents' homes. That was a big problem, and good news on that. We have some resolution on that from what I've heard. It's not bothering residents anymore. I think there's still a little bit more time left though to figure out whether the solution that they put in is conclusive. So I want to thank, I know the people from the village have been working on this, Al and Leela working on this. So I want to thank everybody for collaborating on that. So that's some good news. Another thing that we've been working on is noise. And Bob, can you stand up? Bob is on our Quality of Life. Come stand up all the way. Don't sit down until I tell you to sit down. So anyway, Bob has been working on a document. We're talking about a lot of noise issues. So what Bob is looking for is anybody who's interested in collaborating on this, provide some feedback, provide some ideas. He's looking for any help. So anybody wants to help on that, feel free. Maybe after the meeting you can get with Bob and you can figure out a way to get together on this. And then the third thing that we're working on is my favorite topic, gas-powered leak blowers. So following up on the presentation that we did a couple of months ago, we're putting together a proposal that we want to get in front of the mayor and the trustees. So we're working on that right now. And some new business. So we've had existing issues, right? So this Quality of Life Committee was basically born with some existing issues. So we've been working on the ones that we're talking about, but clearly there's issues that we don't know about, new issues that are going to arise. So what we decided at the last Quality of Life meeting was that we're going to put together a form, an online digital form that residents will be able to access and submit new issues. So I worked on that over the last month or so. We had our team test it. That thing is pretty much ready to go. So it'll be a great way for you to get feedback, get ideas in there, and then get some results from us, hopefully. So hopefully next month, this might be news to you, but next month I want to take about 10 or 15 minutes at this meeting to basically show everybody the form, explain what it's used for, and how to use it. So we'll do like a 15-minute training session on that. And then after that, hopefully we get a lot of, well, we don't want too many issues, but we want some issues. So hopefully we get issues in, and then we'll go from there. That's it. I think this might be a record for me as far as time used.
Yay! John, our chair of the Quality of Life issues, and Janice has the report on walkability issues, right?
There's not, since the last time I gave an update, we're going to meet at the end of this month. We're working on this Safe Streets for All grant, but it's not open yet for 2026. I'm checking to see if we're in trouble with funding because of the, what's going on with the shutdown of the government. I did not get an email back when I inquired through email about the pre-application part that we want to be working on now. But that's the main goal, is to get money into the village to get better and safer walkability and sidewalks, basically. My dream is to have, and the committee, to have sidewalks all around the perimeter of the village so we can get to the hubs of the village safer. We have busy roads, we have narrow roads, curvy roads, and a lot of residents really want to walk. Young people are not into getting in the car to go everywhere like maybe the people that bought the houses when these burbs, were born. So it's a lot of infrastructure that would have to change, but we're working on it. Alrighty, thank you.
A very short update, as the board of the Civic Association, we wrote a letter of recommendation to support because the village has applied for a grant to do some revitalization, and as a part of the business district revitalization, there were areas that specifically will go around the walkability. So we wrote that recommendation letter, and hopefully we'll hear good news from the village at some point soon.
We submitted it on Friday, under the deadline, and we should hear in 2 months.
Fingers
$10
crossed.
grant.
10 million? Wow, good.
That's all from the board and the committees, and I would like to introduce our Honorable Mayor Sheprow, and she will give us the talk about coastal resilience issues.
Thank you so much. If you think this is a typo, it's not. It's not representation, but it is a re-presentation. So, it's a re-presentation to the Civic Association from a presentation that I gave on October 8th to the Long Island Sound Partnership by invitation. And I see a couple of people in the audience today that were in the room that day of the presentation. And keep your bows and arrows and tomatoes to yourself, please. Because you know a lot more about this than I do. So, but as I joke, I recently received my thesis because this was a juried, thesis PhD project, and I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It felt like that though. Okay. Anyway, so thank you all for being here. It's great to see everyone, and I'm going to read from my script just so you know that, so I don't miss things, and I don't want to misstate things and everything, because this is very factual information, and details are important, so I don't want to miss any of them. So thank you to the Civic Association for the invitation. I'm happy to have an opportunity to give this presentation tonight. It was fascinating to do the research for it and pull it all together. I had a lot of help. We worked with both Campanian Schwarting's information that they put together for the Department of State grant that the village just put in the final application. The Board of Trustees unanimously approved submitting the presentation to the plan to Department of State. So it's off our plate and on theirs. So thank you so much for all that work. And there's a lot of your work is referenced in this presentation. And Chris Ryan and Fran Roche worked on sourcing some of this material through the Ken Brady Archive. And our planning departments, Parker Moore and Dan Gross, really helped pull a bunch of the data together, and the documentation that we utilized to create the PowerPoint. So tonight I'll be providing a snapshot of the infrastructure challenges in the incorporated village of Port Jefferson, its history, flooding and stormwater management challenges we face today, and the steps we're taking to build a stronger, more resilient Port Jefferson. The presentation will follow a simple path. First, a look back at our history, and then a look at what led to today's issues, and finally, the modern solutions and projects that are shaping a more sustainable Port Jefferson. So Port Jefferson's story goes back to the 17th century, when it was a small rural settlement In the mid-1800s, it became a busy shipbuilding center, and by the early 1900s, an active industrial port. Over time, the economy shifted, and today the village thrives as a tourist destination instead. Originally, this area was known as Drowned Meadow because much of what is now downtown was once tidal wetlands. The village of Port Jefferson was officially formed in 1963 to give residents more local control, especially after early decisions that filled in many of the wetlands, ponds, and even tunneled some creeks underground. Port Jefferson sits in a steep valley carved by glaciers, surrounded by high slopes known as the Seven Hills on three sides. Many of the village's steep streets, including a state highway, lack proper stormwater systems, so rainwater naturally flows down toward the business district at the bottom of the valley. At the same time, rising sea levels bring tidal flooding from the north, while past decisions to fill wetlands and surface waters have made things worse. Along the waterfront, coastal erosion continues to wear away the bluffs that face Long Island Sound. Look familiar? If you look at these maps, you can see the historical layout of Port Jefferson's C1 district, the commercial district downtown, and part of the waterfront district. They highlight natural features like Crystal Lake, Drowned Meadow, Mill Creek, and several ponds and harbor areas. These maps help us see where those features once existed and how they compare to what's there today. In the past, these lakes and creeks played a big role in managing floods naturally. But as development expanded, that system was disrupted. You can really see here just how extensive the network of surface waters used to be.
Lauren, is it possible that you can use a microphone?
I don't know if they have
Yeah,
one.
we can,
We didn't bring the microphone. Maybe a little bit
I'll
louder?
speak up. You want me to speak up?
Yeah.
Sure, I'm sorry. Okay.
Thanks.
You can really see here just how extensive the network of surface waters used to be. This map, this image, shows Port Jefferson before any major development took place. Much of what we now think of as the downtown area was once made up of wetlands and sandy terrain, land that naturally absorbed and contained water. Crystal Lake once stood where Port Jefferson Fire Department is located today.
Still comes back.
yeah.
Revisited.
It used to be an important part of the area's natural stormwater system, helping manage runoff before development changed the landscape. And as a point of reference, the Methodist church you see in the photo is still standing in the village today. In this photo, you can see where culverts were built to bury natural streams that once flowed openly through the Drowned Meadow area. These changes redirected water underground, which reduced the wetland's natural ability to manage flooding and filter runoff. It's a clear example of how early development decisions reshaped the village's natural water systems. Everybody see where that culvert is? Correct me if I'm wrong.
You got it. And what is a culvert?
That's the
What is a
water,
culvert?
that's the water collection system. It's an underground water management system. Like a sluice way.
There we go.
This image shows the harbor area before the town parking lot was filled in. At that time, much of this space was still open water and wetlands, forming a natural connection between the harbor and the inland streams. Filling it in changed how water moved through the area and reduced the capacity for natural flood control. So, this photo, does anybody know what circa this photo is, Michael, Francis?
Which what?
When the town built that lot, do you know, was it just pre-1963? Was that I think that was
In the 50s, I think.
in the 50s. I think that was one of the reasons why the village was so interested in incorporating, because Brookhaven was building parking lots.
Right.
The creek is still going right through.
Yeah, the bridge was demolished around 59 or 60. And they put the culvert in. So that's before that.
Over the years, Port Jefferson has weathered quite a few major storms. Oh, this is the harbor filling, okay. Sorry. Okay. Over the years, Port Jefferson has weathered quite a few major storms, starting with the 1938 Long Island Express, followed by the Great Atlantic Hurricane of 1944, and later Hurricane Gloria in 1985. More recently, storms like Irene in 2011, Isaias in 2020, and Ida in 2021 all brought serious flooding and damage to the village. And most recently, the August 2024 storm once again showed just how vulnerable our low-lying areas still are today. By the way, some of the historic photos in this presentation, as I said, are courtesy of the Ken Brady Archive, currently under the curation of village historian Chris Ryan, and may be acquired through his office. A little promotion.
Excuse me, what about Sandy?
Sandy was 2012, but this is just a summary. It wasn't, I don't think Sandy, I don't think we got much we didn't get funding from Sandy, and I'm not sure. I was focused on the university during Sandy. The village was out of electricity. I'm not sure about the
I
storm
lost 2
drain.
trees. I mean,
Oh,
we
that's
lost
true.
Trees fell down in Margot's yard.
Town.
I remember that. I remember that. But it was, I don't think it was the flooding issue here.
South Shore was bad.
South Shore was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, South Shore was
We lost a lot of trees.
Trees, yeah.
Gloria was worse.
These next few photos
Oh, yeah.
show what flooding looks like in Port Jefferson today. This one taken outside of Castaways, which is on the left-hand side, because that's Kilwins and the frigate on the right, captures the aftermath of a major storm, water pooling where it has nowhere else to go. You can also see similar flooding along Main Street or Route 125A and at the Broadway intersections. These areas sit at the lowest points in the village, so all the stormwater from higher elevations flow down into them. Without the natural wetlands and waterways that once absorbed that water, flooding now poses a serious risk to both local businesses and residents, especially in the downtown area and along those steep surrounding slopes. This slide focuses on Port Jefferson Fire Department area, which historically has always been prone to flooding because it was the Crystal Lake. This isn't new. It's the land sits right where old Crystal Lake was once, and a spot that naturally collected water long before development. Because of the area's low elevation and surrounding slopes, water still tends to pool here during storms. It can't filter into the ground or water table quickly enough, which leads to repeated and sometimes severe flooding in and around the fire department property. These images were taken during the August 2024 severe storm when flooding reached some of its highest levels in recent years. You can see first responders and fire department crews responding in deep water, which really highlights just how severe conditions can get during the heavy storms in our area. This is Wind Lane going west. And this is Ruvo right here. And they had to tether themselves to rescue the people in that motor vehicle. So the next slide is courtesy of the Port Jefferson Fire Department. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is footage from the August 2024 storm showing severe flooding around the Old Post Road River, as we call it, running into the Port Jefferson High School Bowl. That goes all the way down to Barnum Avenue and collects in a big flood puddle down there, which is where this comes from. So this is the Brockport Apartments, also during that storm.
Which building is
Holy crap.
It's where,
It's-
South
CVS.
Down.
It's
that's
where South Down is,
With
Yeah.
Happy
right next door, the
Happy
entranceway
Sisters.
from the right next door to
Yes.
South.
Yes.
CVS on the other side also flooded. Have we seen enough? Because it goes on for a little bit more. Actually, it's just so,
Yes.
Yeah, they flooded.
It looks like
There's a big building next to CVS.
It's that, yes,
Close to the downtown.
yes. It's,
so that building, there's a parking lot between Theater 3 and that building. Theater 3 is floating on Crystal Lake. You can see water under Theater 3 every day. So it's not all bad news. There's a lot of positive progress happening in Port Jefferson. The village has been taking real steps to build healthier, more a healthier and more sustainable environment. We're becoming more proactive, identifying problems before they grow, and working closely with our partners to improve infrastructure and reduce flooding risks. These efforts are grounded in science, sustainability, and long-term maintenance, all aimed at mitigating hazards and enhancing public safety. At the same time, we're focusing on better project coordination, strategic planning, and making sure the community stays involved and informed every step of the way. I'll talk more about that community input near the end of the presentation. This slide gives a quick overview on some of the efforts the village has been working on to strengthen flood management. These efforts reflect a growing commitment to smarter infrastructure, better planning, and environmental stewardship, all aimed at reducing risk and protecting our community for the long term. I'll go through each one of these individually. Here we're looking at a slide that represents the village's climate resiliency plan with a focus on flooding, developed through an $82,500 grant from the New York State Department of State. A volunteer project action committee helped shape the plan, which focuses on reducing flooding and storm surge in the downtown area by integrating sea level rise projections into practical solutions. It also provides a roadmap for upgrading infrastructure and using nature-based features like strategically placed rain gardens to strengthen resiliency. Do we recognize this? Now these pictures associated with the Department of State grant are courtesy of Campani and Schwarting's work. So again, many thanks. The plan was approved by committee last month and unanimously approved for submission to the Department of State by the Village Board of Trustees on Wednesday last week. The next slides show the conceptual rain. This slide shows the conceptual rain garden design included in the proposal. I think we're going to get funding for these. In this slide is about the hazard mitigation flood study, another major step in identifying and reducing the village's flood vulnerabilities. The project is funded through a $280,000 FEMA grant administered by the New York State Department of Homeland Security, also known as dishes. We call it dishes. If you hear us talking about dishes in the office, it's not plates. It's a science-based study designed to pinpoint specific areas and structures most at risk, assess how effective our current mitigation efforts are, and recommend targeted projects to reduce future flooding impacts. The study is now underway and is expected to be completed in early 2026 with a plan for projects that will help mitigate it and costs associated with those projects. It'll be very exciting when they present it, and I would encourage anyone who's sitting in this room today will be fascinated by the presentation by our engineers, McLean Associates, Lawrence McLean Associates, when they present at a board meeting in the coming months. It might be January, it might be December, but it will be, it's so fascinating what they've done, what they've figured out, and the science behind what they are recommending. This map represents the flood reduction study area outlining the limits of the topographic survey and highlighting key sites behind being evaluated for flood management potential. It helps visualize where the study is focused, its analysis, and where future mitigation projects may take shape. So you can see this is all the way from this is the high school bowl. This is where that water was running down, the Old Post Road River. The tennis courts, so this is a huge flooding area. This is that apartment complex by CVS, Barnum. This is the apartment complex that got flooded. So the area of interest they're looking at, this is Haywood Park. This is all the way over to the Brookhaven Town culvert. The culvert that goes under the Brookhaven Town parking lot and across West Broadway. Can you all visualize that?
What's the red line?
The culvert.
The culvert.
That's the other culvert.
Yeah.
That's the culvert from the swamp.
The New York State culvert.
Right, not the Brookhaven culvert.
It's the New York State culvert, and New York State is gonna get a knock at the door, let me tell you. I don't wanna give it away, but I'm very excited by the planning. It's a very expensive project. This hazard mitigation implementation grant was created to help areas of Port Jefferson that were damaged by Hurricane Ida in 2021. The village received $240,000 in FEMA funding administered through the New York State dishes. The work focuses on East Beach Bluff, which we will touch on in a few minutes, and the Old Homestead area and the Crystal Brook Hollow Recharge Basin, two connected sites that saw significant impacts during the storm. The goal is to protect public infrastructure and nearby properties, private properties, from future disasters through targeted mitigation and long-term improvements. These photos show the damage to the recharge basin between Oakwood Road and Old Homestead Road caused by Hurricane Ida. The storm weakened several flood management structures, which were later destroyed during the August severe storm. It's a strong reminder of how repeated events can compound damage and strain the systems meant to protect our community.
I have a question about that last image. Is that right on Oakwood?
Yes,
And it's on the north side of the road?
correct.
And that's the place that they keep repairing almost constantly?
It's on the northeast side. It's so hard what's north and what's east there, but yeah,
And
they,
that's-
I'll get to it.
Well,
But,
I
yes.
don't know, isn't that where someone keeps, real estate companies keep trying to advertise property for sale back in there? How?
Somehow that got approved. I don't know. That's why we need a steep slope
It was the
code.
prior administration, was all up in that.
Yeah, it's construction on a steep slope right up against the recharge basin.
Yeah, and it keeps
And
failing.
sluiceway.
Why does it keep failing, over and over and over again?
Listen up. No, just some ideas that are coming forward, to help plan for things like that and help
So
send the water a different way.
Is our village responsible for paying that, for that mess every time it floods?
Indeed, it is village property.
Oh.
And guess what? Can't strategically retreat from it. So these photos, and there's more, so you'll sit on the edge of your chair in this section. These photos show the damage to the recharge basin between Oakwood Road and Old Homestead Road caused by Hurricane Ida. I just read through that one, so. Ida caused issues with watershed management, leading to unforeseen problem with the Sands Lane culvert during the August 2024 severe storm. Past storm damage to Old Homestead Road recharge basin and the Sands Lane culvert are examples of what can be avoided with a water reuse project. This slide highlights the 2024 FEMA Severe Storm Grant that we're working on, issued in response to the August 18th and 19th storm. The grant provides funding to repair and restore public infrastructure to its pre-storm condition while also including additional mitigation measures to strengthen vulnerable areas. So the village is responsible for it. By declaring a state of emergency, we were eligible for FEMA funds, and so FEMA helped us pay for it.
If the village is responsible for it, and owns the property, well, who owns the property where those real estate signs are, which is right on top of the culvert? I mean, this mess. I mean, it's hard by it. And they built a kind of a road on the left side. But that you're saying people can actually own property back in there somewhere?
Just that that one driveway that hasn't, it's built, it's for sale, for building upon,
It's ridiculous.
as of right. Hi, uh-oh, now the real.
Now the real guns
This is
come.
Professor Engelbright.
Professor.
Okay, so, as I said, particularly around the Sands Lane culvert, and access road. This is an important step not only to rebuilding what was lost, but also reducing future flood risks across the village. So this is the construction of and repair of the Sands Lane culvert and Old Homestead Road recharge basin. That culvert was significantly damaged. And this is in progress, the project. The project is complete. And fingers crossed it'll hold for enough time until we can actually redirect the watershed from this recharge basin over to the golf course for reuse purposes. I'll get into that.
But that's on, this is Sam's Lane now.
This is below Sands Lane.
This is, you can,
Is that Oakwood Road over there?
No.
Okay.
well, it's a old homestead, no? Yeah.
No,
What road is that?
Unless it's,
that's, I don't,
Crystal Brook?
no, that's probably Sands.
that is Oakwood Road.
It's a,
Oh.
That's Oakwood Road, yeah. This is the piece inside the recharge basin that collects the water, and it goes up sometimes and over. That's what it did during Ida, and it took out all the infrastructure. But this is the repair, and Sands Lane is up here. Next project I'm talking about is the Jumpstart Mill Creek Restoration Project, supported through a $500,000 Suffolk County Jumpstart grant. This program is designed to foster economic growth and revitalize downtown communities, and this project does exactly that by bringing environmental and community benefits together. The work is focusing on, because it currently is underway, rehabilitating the Mill Creek culvert, improving water flow, and removing invasive plants to restore the creek's natural function. These efforts build on earlier studies and aim to make Mill Creek a place that both reduces flooding and serves as a public green space for everyone to enjoy. The culvert cleanout has already begun with an invasive removal phase planned for completion in 2026. The photos on this slide show Mill Creek as it looks today, an area with strong potential to become both a functional flood outlet and a beautiful natural centerpiece for the village. This slide highlights invasive vegetation, particularly Phragmites. Which have become common in areas like Mill Creek. These plants spread quickly and crowd out native species, reducing biodiversity and blocking natural water flow. Managing and removing them is a key part of the Mill Creek restoration effort. On this slide, I'll talk about the village's application to the Long Island Sound Resilience Planning Support Program for a feasibility study for stormwater capture and reuse, exploring an innovative idea, diverting the stormwater for reuse at the Port Jefferson Golf Course, Country Club Golf Course. The goal is to reduce stormwater discharge into Mount Sinai Harbor in line with the Town of Brookhaven's Harbor Management Plan, while also cutting down on groundwater pumping from the aquifer. So the plan was there's so much watershed, well, you'll see in a minute. Although the project wasn't funded in the current grant round, the village was encouraged by Long Island Sound Partnership to resubmit in early 2026, as it remains a top priority for sustainable water management. So that's just a regular rainy day on Old Homestead Road, and all that water has to be collected and moves into the recharge basin, which is down around this corner. So here, along here, this is the eighth hole of the golf course on the country club. And there's a sluiceway behind the homes, between the golf course and the homes. It's a cement sluiceway where water is captured and runs down under Old Homestead Road and into that recharge basin as well. When that recharge basin was built back in the 60s, I want to say, I think it was Sonny Lamson was the developer, it wasn't built for all these homes or all this rainwater. It was not built, it was built for probably 1 inch storm. Now we need a 9-inch recharge basin, or we need to move that water somewhere else. That was the result of one of our heavy rains. It wasn't even August 18th and 19th. That was before the project was completed. It was
That's on Oakwood,
Yeah, that's going down to Oakwood, and this is,
but you know, over the years, they've tried a lot of different kinds of damming issues there. Now, are those still there today after the storm?
no, they redesigned, so the IDA money was to be spent in 2 phases. They completed phase 1, and then the next storm hit, and it failed.
Last week, the one from last week?
No,
That storm?
no, a couple of years ago, and it failed. So Isaias, I think, and so it failed, so the engineers went back to the drawing board and submitted a change to FEMA to make the adjustment, and they took 9 months. It took 9 months for FEMA to get back to us with approval of the change of scope, but they did. And so what you see now there, and you can take a walk up there. Don't it?
I live close to that
Yeah,
area.
you take a walk up there.
It's not a pretty sight. It really isn't. Nobody should be trying to build a house to the left of that area, immediate left.
I think you made your point. I know, I was shocked by that, shocked. It's just, anyway. So, the U.S. Geological Survey has been conducting multi-phase flood hazard assessment, part of the Long Island Sound Partnership. They selected Port Jefferson as a pilot area to study. The project focuses on understanding compound flooding, where coastal flooding, stormwater, and groundwater combine to create greater impacts. Phase 1 included a vulnerability analysis with an interactive map showing key flood-related factors across the area. Phase 2, to develop a modeling framework to simulate flooding under different conditions and guide future mitigation strategies. This project is currently on hold, as the government shutdown unfortunately prevents progress right now. But once they get back up and running, we anticipate a final product in early 2026. So the results will help identify recurring flood-prone areas and highlight where infrastructure reinforcement or nature-based improvements like small water bodies or new vegetation can make the most difference for Port Jefferson. Most importantly, what we will use the USGS survey, the U.S. Geological Survey information for, and the Department of State resiliency plan for, is to support future grant opportunities. Same with the flood hazard mitigation study that's going on now downtown in the downtown flooding area. This slide highlights the East Beach Bluff Stabilization Project, a major effort to protect the coastline and prevent ongoing erosion near the Port Jefferson Country Club. The Village Board of Trustees in 2021 unanimously approved funding for the project, dividing it into 2 phases to qualify Phase 2 for federal funding. Phase 1 construction was completed in 2023, and in 2024, FEMA awarded the village with a Coastal Consistency Grant to help fund Phase 2, covering 75% of the project cost up to $5 million, so up to $3.75 million. After severe weather in December 2023 caused new gullies to form along the bluff face, the design for Phase 2 was updated, and that design work is near completion and awaiting a structural evaluation of the Port Jeff Country Club building. So pre-Bluff Project Phase 1, post-Bluff Project Phase 1 with the gullies. No, I'm sorry, that was pre-Phase 1, because you see the natural shoreline there. There's the Phase 1 completion, September 2023. Terracing, grasses, construction wall. That's the current look of Phase 1. So the grasses have come in very nicely. There are, however, gullies. This photo was taken recently, as you can see, because our partner at the country club, Lessings, worked together with us to build what they're calling the Meadow Project for future events and use, but through a social membership. And as part of this project, which they funded, we provided a lot of the labor. They provided all the materials. So they provided the sod, they provided the soil to fill in, they provided the grading, they provided the irrigation infrastructure, which is it's not commercial irrigation, it is residential irrigation and closely monitored. And they also funded the insertion of 2 new, what do they call them, precast cylinders to capture water. Dry wells. The grading is from east to west, pushing the water that way. So next step is to build a berm here with some plantings, and so we finally have some drainage in this area. And so as the engineer continues to work on the plan for Phase 2, we demanded that it include addressing drainage, which the original plans did not address drainage. It didn't study drainage, it didn't study how the water was flowing, where it was coming from. So our partner Lessings is also looking at the gutter system along the property, the structure, and looking for ways to reroute it, not to go from south to north, but to go from northeast to southwest and into a collection system and push it elsewhere. We're also looking to determine where we're going to put the water that's being collected here, how to get it potentially over and across to the country club, also for irrigation purposes. We expect this, our engineers, originally we expected them to present it in November, then we expected them to be presented in December, but we're pushing it back because we want to understand the structural report. And if it needs to change, it can incorporate the changes from that, those recommendations from that report.
Is this going to be a big public hearing at the country club like we had before with these meetings?
We're talking about where we should have it, and I think that probably is the best place to have it to accommodate. The village center is just a terrible
A lot
place.
of people have come to those meetings.
Yeah, yes. So we're having the engineer present the plan. And then the next night, we will have the engineers present the plan to the Coastal Erosion Commission. So back to community engagement. Community input is at the heart of everything we're doing. This slide shows some of the ways in which the village has been keeping residents informed and involved on coastal and flooding issues. A Project Action Committee, or PAC, has played a key role in shaping the village's climate resilience plan with a focus on flooding, ensuring local voices guide real solutions. In 2024, I expanded that effort by forming the Citizens Commission on Erosion, inviting volunteers to contribute their experience, expertise, and ideas, which has significantly helped with the overall understanding of both projects and helps maintain the public awareness of the planning and progress of this highly complex initiative. I see a couple of members of the Citizens Commission on Erosion here today. Carol, Bob, good to see you. Anyone else? Yeah, sorry. Through newsletters, public updates, and outreach events, the village continues to make transparency and participation a top priority because lasting progress depends on an informed and engaged community. That brings us to the end of the presentation. As you've seen, Port Jefferson has faced real challenges. Nothing that you learned today. We've been facing challenges forever. With flooding and coastal change, but throughout planning, partnerships, and community involvement, we're taking meaningful steps towards a more resilient and sustainable future. Thank you all for taking the time to be here and for your continued interest in the Village of Port Jefferson. Any questions?
Let's see questions, because I'm sure there are questions, right? Maybe. We had, in August 2024, we had Chris Matterson, I want to say? Masterson from USGS. And Schwarten and Company also presented a part of that work, so it's really good to see how it's evolving and changing.
They'll all be thread together, and you'll see some real results from the planning efforts that have taken place so far.
That was my question, because when we had that, it was a year and a half ago.
In August 2024.
In August. And she was, Chris Masterson was presenting phase 1 and phase 2. And I thought by now we would have had some kind of results from phase 1 because they're using a lot of, you would know, it's very sophisticated digital equipment, and so that we can pinpoint where the flooding problems are. So we're not solving problems in the wrong way or in the wrong place. That they were, I thought that they were using this equipment to really help us find out exactly where the problems were and what particular solutions would fit in those places.
We've been in contact all the way through and sharing our information, but unfortunately they've been stopped from work. They don't even get travel money to come here. So.
Do you know, Michael, if they finished the phase 1 part?
It was to be in May, but it got completely delayed.
Yeah, but so the study that we had done by Lawrence McLean and Associates.
No relation.
No. Pinpoints everything. The cubic, what's the calculation? Cubic feet, cubic something per second, cubic foot per second of rain that comes through, so they've done all those calculations.
When it's diverted through a pipe.
Mhm. And they have developed a new storm drain mapping system through topographical drone footage surveying. It's gonna blow you away.
And when do we see that?
Next month or January. Yes, Mom.
Was that the same engineering company that, quote, engineered the whole bluff rebuild?
The Bluff Project engineering firm is GEI.
Yeah. I noticed when I was walking down there 2 days ago that the western side of the bluff area is still in pretty bad shape. And the last image of that area showed that. If the grass doesn't seem to be, the vegetation doesn't seem to be coming in there. And that was the area that was kind of falling down anyway.
The gullies. Well, what I'm told is,
Yeah, the gullies.
that the closer you get, the more green you see. And over the past growing season, it has changed drastically. And when the spring comes, we're going to replant. We're gonna bring in the construction company that did the original project, and they will replant thousands of new types of plants. And Anna has seen the list of the plants that they're planting, and she wrote a letter of strong recommendation from the Civic Association to the village saying it looked highly qualified and should do the work. I mean, the work won't stop. It's never going to stop. We'll have to keep populating that area, and it should have been populated with plantings all along. The problem was, it didn't, the maintenance that is required and is necessary wasn't happening. So.
But it's still that very steep slope. It is a massive issue. And have you ever gotten any insurance coverage for the fact that after the first major storm, that area, that we paid so much money to have restored, was in very, very bad shape. And it still doesn't look great.
Right.
By any means.
It's a constant work in progress. The other thing, and Al talks about this a lot, Al Kasari, because he has a front row seat to it, he talks about the jetty. And so that's a segue I'll make to the local waterfront revitalization plan that the town of Brookhaven is currently undergoing. They're working with a Department of State grant as well, to develop a local waterfront revitalization plan, and they are looking for feedback from the community. Now, last Friday, we have an engineering meeting with GEI and our engineers, HADUC, every other Friday. And during that meeting, I asked them, we started talking about, because in their presentation, they'll show images of the east side of the beach where it intersects with Mount Sinai Harbor as part of the history of the reason for the erosion. And so when he brought that slide up, I started asking about the jetty. And I said, does it make sense to extend that jetty? And the expert said, not seaward, landward. Yeah. So that was interesting. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is I made the recommendation to the town to extend the jetty and to move some of the sand from what they're collecting, because the west side jetty of the inlet, they're collecting lots of sand there at that northwest corner. I'll say it's the northwest corner of Cedar Beach, and also on the inside of the inlet. So our engineers said they should give some of that sand back to the village, because it came from the village beach. So if they're going to, that is local waterfront revitalization, and And erosion is part of the rationale for proposing plans. So if everybody in this room proposes to extend the jetty southward, landward, and move the sand, maybe they'll listen. But there's strength in numbers, Gail.
Years ago, behind my house, it was at the end of Longfellow, the builder, Dale Goldstein, if you recognize the name, he built a house and put cement down where evidently there was artesian water, and the people that bought that house had tremendous flooding. And I remember seeing the Army Corps of Engineers, they told me came in.
Is that the Edbergs?
I don't know who lives down there.
Okay.
Came in with these tremendous tunnels and diverted the water. We were watching it from the back of our house. And it worked. How did the Army Corps of Engineers get involved with that? And can we get them involved? Because
Graft and corruption, Gail.
No, you know
graft
why?
and corruption.
Because it fixed the problem. These people never had it again. So, and it hasn't affected any of the other houses there that are around us. They're like up the hill behind it.
I don't know. Michael, do you know how to get there? Army Corps involved in something
No,
like that?
I thought,
You don't have them on speed dial?
that's a really complicated
I
issue.
can believe, yeah, but that's who she said was the one that was putting, you could stand practically in
Sure.
these tunnels that they were putting in underground to divert the underground
What are
artesian
they
water.
made of?
Concrete.
It's black, I don't remember.
Concrete.
Concrete.
Polyurethane, no?
Yeah,
Culverts almost.
yeah, but it actually did divert all the water, and they had water up the basement. He was a shyster. He put concrete down where he knew there wasn't gonna be, it wasn't gonna stay. Don Spence, you know Don Spence, he can't even pave his area. He owns those houses right off of Brook Road on the corner, and he can't even pave. He said the artesian water, if it's hot, just rises up. He has stone, and he has paper, he can only keep stone there. So, yeah, it's a problem. I don't know how the Army Corps of Engineers, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and it worked. It worked. We have no problem from that back anymore.
Oh, so you don't get
About
water.
30 years ago. They didn't divert it to me. Oh, no, I get water in front of my house. I'm at the end of a Wasco Drive. I get garbage that says Michigan Avenue on it, all the way up and comes down my street. Steve Gallagher knows this. Steve Gallagher, right, was the guy that used to take it. Yeah, he knew me real
Any other questions?
Yeah, we still find out if the village ever got any insurance money back from that
Oh.
engineering job. And why was that? Was it because they had actually changed the steep slope and made it worse? So that,
It was not made worse.
yeah,
It was
but
not
why was
worse.
there not any insurance involved in this? A lot of people in the village are interested in this particular question. You know, when a homeowner is trying to build something, you have to have proof of insurance, bonding,
Yeah, they had a maintenance bond.
and what happened?
So the project isn't done. They're coming back and they have to replant and rake
At whose cost?
at no cost to the village taxpayer.
Oh, good, should be. But I have to say, that I've gone to those meetings at the country club. I think those people at Gemini, were extremely rude to the people in the audience that were asking questions about the logic and the viability of what they had created.
Steve, your question?
Mayor, I know you, in the last photo that you showed there where the ruts were formed along the sound, that you said a lot of the plantings are grass, and but the newer stuff is going to be include trees and stuff like that?
What do we have? Bayberry,
The list that I've seen includes shrubs that are appropriate. There is, one of the things that we, as a civic association, as the board, what we did is that we started digging into studies, scientific studies, looking at what kind of planted and how they would work, and we forwarded that information to the village. And the short of the study is that just grasses, they shear off, so they kind of like form in like a really nice mat. but under a lot of weight, they kind of like slide off, and that's what we see over there where we, a lot more water comes from. So the study suggested using a variety of root structures that uses both like really deep tap roots together with the fibrous roots of grasses, and the planting plan that the GI proposed had a variety of those things. They do not include trees at the moment, but they do include a lot of coastal shrubs that do the job.
I was just hoping that they would repopulate it with trees because obviously, the country club isn't going to like it, but I think those would have the deepest root structure. And I don't know if it's possible, or it may have already been done, is that fencing to prevent deer from walking on these sheer slopes. That
You're never gonna prevent deer from
I
walking
know.
on those. There is fencing.
There is fencing
Yeah,
there.
there's fencing all along here, you can see there's an estate fence all along here, and then it comes back up here.
Okay,
So,
at least there's some.
yeah, but, you know, if you zoom in, you can see the deer hoof prints.
Yeah, that's what
Any more questions?
I have one question.
1, 2.
It's about the, I don't really want to fix the camera myself, but it's about those geometric, hexagonal structures that were gonna be kind of screwed in to get the variety of plants rooted. There was gonna be a pilot,
Yeah,
about
so the
that.
DEC did not approve that project. They did not approve an inorganic material being implanted into so that funding, that ARPA funding we were going to use for that project is now being used to help pay for some of the extra plantings and for the work that Terry will do to replant the gullies.
What was the culvert built?
Which one?
Which one?
Well, I guess the one that goes through the meadow lot,
1931.
so it was a WPA project, or?
It was the town of Brookhaven. The first phase was built from Maple to the creek to drain Crystal Lake. And the second phase went from Barnum to Maple to drain Route 25A culverts.
And how big is it? I mean,
It's called a concrete box culvert, and it's 5 feet wide by 3 feet high inside dimensions.
is that adequate?
That's what they're studying. It's being, as the mayor said, one of the grants is cleaning it out presently. It's starting.
I know the engineers say it is not adequate anymore.
Part of the study that we worked on was also to make some relief ponds out of that culvert, you know, as kind of rain gardens to relieve the pressure.
So I'm not sure where the plantings of the shrubbery is going to go, but the installation, the planting of those shrubs, will they decrease or increase the slope of that area?
Well, the
Because I
engineer
thought there was a proximity.
recommends not adding any fill to that area. They recommend, like, you know, doing a little raking, pulling it in a little bit, but not to add any new soil material into that area before doing the planting. They do recommend taking away the, what do they call them? Burlap mats, to remove them because they're done with their job. But, you know, the storm that created this happened fairly soon before the grasses could be completely stabilized. And I think, you know, who knows what would have happened if the grasses were, if the plantings were stable, before that storm hit, what would happen now?
On that note,
We'll find out.
on the plant structure that you were talking about, which I found fascinating because some of it goes down deep. and it's absorbent, and others of it sort of network across, and it creates a stabilization. So are those plants effectively able to do what those honeycomb grids were gonna do?
Theoretically,
Okay.
theoretically.
And it also was theoretical whether those honeycomb grids were gonna do it anyway, so, but this just sounds more using the native plants and with deep roots. And I know, you were asking about the trees? But this sounds like it would provide a very stable structure that would help with the flooding and the drainage and sustain the wall.
The study that I sent out, I'm not sure why GI didn't use, it did propose using like oaks and other things that do have deep, both tap and lateral roots. That was not a part of it, but we can always throw acorns for the board.
There's an idea.
And, natural pollinators, right?
Totally, yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's
Thank
give it up
you.
to, Honorable Mayor. We need to be out of here at 8.